Hi everybody, it's Az here from Heel vs Babyface, a very poorly shit Az from Heel vs Babyface, as I do this video complete and utterly clammed up in cold sweats, but thankfully it's not an illness which affects my voice, even though it does affect my mouth and my bottom. But we don't need to go any further into that at all. Don't worry, I am taking as much liquid on board as I can through little sips. Now, yesterday, I brought you a video on the changes to PvP power, which have a significant effect on burst damage. And today I want to elaborate on that, because there were a couple of things which I did miss out that people put in the comments, and it was on purpose. I just wanted to highlight the change to burst. So I'm going to go into it all for you. Now, currently on the live servers, which is where this footage was taken in my beautiful Season 3 transmog gear, my PvP power is 53.91%. Now, that is with item level 484 gear. On the PTR for patch 5.3, I'm in head-to-toe tyrannical 496 level gear, and it's 39.9, over 14% difference. Now, if you go to your general tab on live, you'll see something called battle fatigue. Some people don't know about this. Now, battle fatigue, when you deal damage to an opponent, reduces the healing they receive by 30%. And some people said in the comments yesterday, but battle fatigue's getting buffed, so surely that will compensate for the healing aspect, because people won't be able to get healed as high, and therefore, even though the burst has been mitigated, won't they go down quicker? Well, this is the battle fatigue on the PTR for patch 5.3. It's been increased from 30% up to 45%. So there's only one way to put the proof in the pudding, and the pudding in the... I don't want to talk about food right now. Sorry. Yeah. I'm going to put... the proof is in the pudding, and I'm going to do some random BGs on the PTR for patch 5.3, and I'm going to give you segments now from those battles, and you can see for yourself and make your own mind up. But of course, I will be giving my opinion as we go along. Now, first of all, did you see the change to the beginning of the Eye of the Storm? You no longer start on raised platforms, you actually start on the same level as the battleground, so you no longer take any fall damage. And forgive me for a little bit of choppiness in this opening footage. It's not because so much is happening on my screen, it's because I may have been downloading. A boy's got to keep up with Defiance, you know. So anyway, I purposely charged right in to the middle of the enemy pack, because I wanted to see if I was going to drop like that. All those people around me, what could the healers do? And thus far, I managed to get out of it okay, and that's with the Army of Dead on me, Stampede on me. Yes, there are others, of course, taking the damage. Now, here's the kicker. The Druid healer from our team is dead, and only the Priest healer is alive. So surely we're going to get wiped out. There's only 2 healers on our team, 13 DPS, because the way Battlegrounds have now been leveled in patch 5.3, in theory, there should only be 2 healers on the Horde side as well. But the Druid's still not back within range, and it's the Priest who's been keeping us all up. So that's a couple of mages, a couple of warlocks, a Death Knight and a Hunter, and we've all stayed up. We've all stayed up at this point. I've got myself on the ridge. I'm going to do some AoE DPS. My Incinerates are now pretty impotent. Some are critting for 8k, some are critting for 24k, some are critting for 15k. Put it this way, as an Incinerate, that is really weak damage. Yes, I'm doing the AoE version, so some of them are affected by reductions in damage, but the biggest crit that we saw was around 25k. Now, I've been dragged down by a Death Knight, which I didn't want, and then I thought, yeah, actually, this is not that bad. I'm going to charge back in to the middle of the Horde here. I'm going to get out of that CC. So I've gone right back into the middle again. Let's see if I can get blown up. Let's see what the healers can do. And I'm also going to be popping my healing cooldowns as well. Look at my damage. I'm now down to about 50%. Seem to be being kept up pretty well. Looking in now. Now I've got to drop. I've got to drop. I'm on the verge. I'm on the verge. No, still keeping up. This is with 45% battle fatigue, remember now. Still kept up. I'm on the verge again. I've got to go now. No. Oh my god, I'm making this sound so excited. How on earth can TB not hire me for his commentator? Oh my god! Oh my god, he was going to drop! Oh my god, he's alive! Right, so I've managed to get out of that. Look, I'm back up to full health. Full health, 2 healers. And how many DPS were in range? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 DPS being kept up by 2 healers. And I was in every kind of trouble under the sun right there. So I'm going to go back up to the ridge once more and carry on my AoEing, and let's see what we can do to the other team. Well, have you also noticed their numbers don't seem to be dwindling that much either? Which, this is kind of like an almost stalemate right now. Sure, they've pushed us away from the middle, but they're not advancing too much further. And I've been dragged in once more, and this has got to be the end of me. And it does actually prove to be the end of me. But once more, there is still a little bit of fight in the healers. And I think a little bit for myself as well. I'm hitting some burning embers to try and get myself healed up. And finally, I do drop. But notice how the priest was out the way then. It was just the druid who was keeping us alive at the moment. But that was absolutely crazy for an opening exchange, taking into account that battle fatigue has been raised by 15% from 30 to 45% healing mitigation. So this is just one BG. Let's nip on over now to a second. Now I've just stolen the flag from the enemy base here at Twin Peaks, and I run back to attempt to score it at our base. I get through relatively unscathed. Apart from at the entrance, a warlock and a shadow priest began to tussle with me. I managed to sacrifice my pet to get one out of the way and also feared the second, which allowed me to score. But they didn't give up, and it eventually ends with me getting shadow word deathed. Now the warlock believes me to be completely dead and buggers off, but I soulstone back up and the priest attempts to take our flag. So begin at 347, a conflict between a shadow priest and a destruction warlock. Now then, we have pretty much evening out CCs. They have some snares, so do I. They have a silence, which I don't have, but I've got a stun. And they've also got horror and fear, and I also have fear as well. I'm at a slight disadvantage because I don't have my pet active, and it's not that far in that we're all about 50% health. However, I try to apply a little bit of pressure. I put my healing ability on, and one thing that a shadow priest and a warlock can do is, because we're both ranged, it allows us both to cast as that shadow bolt strikes for a staggering 8.9k. Yes, they did have dispersion on. They try and line of sight me, so I'm going to use this as an opportunity to get my pet into the fight. We're a minute in, by the way. So I got my pet back in. They open up with another fear. I can just run this off. This isn't going to be too damaging for me. Health-wise, again, we're still both at around 50%. I can start some offense once more. They silenced me, but I've now put them asleep, which can even up the silence. So I'm going to try and mount a little bit of offense now. I put a dot on them, hit some incinerates, which do nothing because they've mitigated every bit of damage. I try and fear. I manage to grab them in a fear, and now another Chaos Bolt comes in with no mitigations available for 75k. This is an ability that requires both a Burning Ember and 3 seconds to cast it. But it only hit for 75k. They're now running around because I'm the one who's on top in this fight. They come back at me. Come at me, brah! With a mass fear. So both my pet and myself are out of the game for the moment. Once we come out and they've dotted me back up, they're running away and hiding again to try and line of sight. Because there's nothing they can do at the moment, they're running away while I'm applying a bit of pressure. I'm going to drop a stun. By the way, we're now 3 minutes into the fight between us. I dot up, and this is DPS versus DPS. I want to seriously stress that. Chaos Bolt again for 75k, 73k. I'm never going to kill anybody like this. Nobody like this on a one-on-one situation that can do what they can do. I've healed myself back up. I've got them on the defensive once more, but this is their time now to hit me. They've silenced me. I've managed to get a bit of a heal, and we're back to square one. We are both at roughly 50% of our health. I've got my cooldowns coming off soon. Both my Sacrificial Pact, which is now hit, so I'm now going to absorb, and I've also got my Twilight Nether, my Twilight Ward, which is going to take their shadow damage away too. Now, if this Paladin hadn't come in and intervened, and that pretty much turned the tide of the fight, 4 minutes into our conflict, it could have gone on and on and on. They didn't have the burst to kill me. I didn't have the burst to kill them either. It was just a complete and utter stalemate. Also, take into account that battle fatigue is up to 45% on the PTR for patch 5.3, not 30% like it is on live, and we were both healing ourselves up as 2 DPS classes absolutely fine. Now, this made me pretty disillusioned with Destruction as a viable spec, because if my Chaos Bolts couldn't do any damage, then I can't do any damage, period. So what I decided to do was go to my secondary spec, which is Affliction. So I'm now sacrificing all burst damage for sustained and constant damage instead. So I'm going to dot up anything and everything that I can and see if that puts pressure on their healers. Now, at the Lighthouse, we have 4 people here. We have 1 priest healer, we've got myself, a hunter, and a rogue. So 3 DPS and 1 healer, and we're fighting approximately 5 or so Hordes. They actually gain in numbers a little bit later on. Now, I've dotted this DK up as much as I possibly could with a Horned and Malefic Grasp, and I wasn't doing anything to it whatsoever. So I'm now switching targets away from pets and stupid snakes to see if I can again apply some pressure with just spreading the dots all over the place. Now, I also want to draw your attention to the fact I'm in no difficulty either. I'm being attacked by this and that. The Shaman's battering me a wee bit. The Death Knight's been hitting me as well. I think they're going to apply all the dots on me at the moment. But watch as the Death Knight stays on me for a while and then eventually gives up because he can't do anything. I think he's in blood spec, so I can't do anything to him, but he can't do anything to me because of the way that the healer is managing to keep me fully alive. Now, one thing which may have seemed a little bit misleading yesterday was the fact that it looked like I was implying that healers were getting a buff in patch 5.3. No, I was implying healing is getting a buff in 5.3 with these changes to the PvP power. Because at the moment on the live servers, healers do benefit from PvP power. I'm not totally convinced it's full PvP power, but I've been told it is. But it still makes healing more powerful because right now, once you've taken away the big burst element from DPS classes, even if healing is nerfed to the same ratio that burst damage was nerfed with the PvP power changes, it still makes healing easier. Because also, we can't take into effect overheals, which are currently done at the minute. And on top of that, healing is too strong on the live servers. You make burst damage impotent, and it just, ergo, by the laws of logic, makes healing that bit easier. When you then add on top of that that other classes that didn't benefit from PvP power healing suddenly do, so that's things like Warlocks, that's Warriors with Second Wind, that's Recuperate, that's Hunters, that's any class, Paladins, Reti Paladins, that currently do not benefit from PvP power healing suddenly do. And this 15% increase to battle fatigue is clearly not doing anything. Have you been paying attention to what's been going on in this fight? 1 healer, 3 DPS, we're in no trouble. They're in no trouble either. My dots are complete and utterly ineffectual against these targets. Same with my burst damage. what on earth am I going to do as a Warlock in PvP in patch 5.3? I'm currently bottom in the 2s ranking as a Warlock in representation. I'm currently second from bottom in the 3s ranking in representation. And I'm battling between 4th and 5th bottom in the 5s ranking. If my burst damage can't even defeat a PvP class, and if my dot damage is as easily taken care of by healing classes, then where on earth are we going to be come the end of the rankings in patch 5.3? But we are now 5 minutes into the fight at the lighthouse, and I've forced a chamois healer to run away. Now, my healer is just about to drop and does. So the priest, who was at our side healing us, has died. So I instantly turn my attention to the chamois healer, who's over here. If I can put some pressure on now in a one-on-one situation, dot them up to full, then hit some CC. They're really, really low on mana. Is this going to balance things out? Now again, I sustain my pressure, and Lordy McLordy with cheese on top kill the chamois healer. They had no mana left with which to do anything. But we've got no healer, and they have yet to res, or they just res, but they haven't got back to the lighthouse. But look what else. They've got another healer here. They had 2 healers to our 1. And although I'm applying good dot damage to the DPS classes that are around, look what happens with this hunter. It's on 10%. It's on around 8%. Now it's back up to 10. Now it's dropping. It's got to drop. It's got all the dots under the sun under it. Plus Malefic Grasp. No. Because the healing is too powerful to allow it to die. And that was pretty much our last hope at doing anything at the lighthouse, especially now that we've lost our healer. I would love to hear your comments about what you've seen in today's video. I hope there's plenty of food for thought here, but as far as I can tell, the reduction in the PvP power to damage has pretty much made PvP a ridiculously dull affair where we seem to get interlocked in masses and masses of stalemate along the way. But time will eventually tell, and I'm gonna have to take a bow. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please do like, comment and subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Twitter and also like my Facebook, and please follow my twitch.tv/Hill versus Babyface. I've been streaming most nights. I'm tempted tonight to stream some live 5.3 PTR Battlegrounds, and then you can see it all in its Technicolor glory later on. But most importantly, I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everybody. Bye bye.